What's going on, Internet? I'm Christopher Peterson, and you're listening to a Nerd EXP interview. I'm hanging out with Loki Davison of Wander.
Hi.
Thanks for coming on, especially, I know with the game coming out for PlayStation Network soon-ish?
Yes, soon is the official time. Soon brackets trademark. Yeah.
So, Wander is a non-combat exploration MMORPG, which I've never heard of. I've never heard of anything like this. How do you describe this to people? Do they come up to you dumbfounded? Do they have a lot of questions? I mean, what's kind of like your take on it when fans or other developers talk to you?
Oh yeah, some people are pretty surprised, but basically, so I usually say, it's a non-combat MMO where you start off as a giant tree and you're given hints by opera singers, and then you explore this world and you realize that everybody in the whole world is a shapeshifter, and you're trying to work out why. And then people give me a confused look, but go,
So,
But yeah,
does everybody start in the same spot? In some more traditional MMOs, like you start in different hub worlds, or is everybody kind of on the same playing field here, or?
so there's only it's a single sharded world like Eve, so everybody's in the same server. So there aren't different hub worlds, there aren't connecting areas or anything like that. There are a bunch of different kind of start locations, spawn points, I guess, which are just different parts of the forest. Basically, they're all kind of all have the same sort of layout around them, but just different parts of the forest. So you won't necessarily. We don't want everybody, starting in exactly the same location. It's not like we don't really have a the starting island doesn't really have a like a high level and a low level area because we don't have combat or anything, so it's not like you're gonna run into bosses from different levels.
Great point. I feel like I'll have to wrap my head around just kind of the different take on that. You said you start off as a giant tree, and
Indeed,
then
yes.
you can progress to an eagle, water creatures. Is everybody kind of gonna, when they play through the game, go through the same progression, or is it based off what they find or how they interact with the world? Could you like miss certain transformations or?
I wouldn't even call it I wouldn't call it a progression. That would be my first bit of confusion with it. Because really, it's just each different form allows you to do different things better. One of the forms isn't better than the other one. It's just they each allow you to explore new places. Like the sea creature is much better at swimming. It's super fast underwater, and you can go and explore the coral reef cities and stuff like that. But it's ludicrously slow on land. And doesn't really have any stamina when it's on land because it's basically like a kind of crocodile or something. Very unagile on land, but cute looking. Whereas the hero, the humanoid form, she's got gills and fins. She's pretty good on land and pretty good in the water, but doesn't have like a strong advantage at either. And then obviously the griffin can fly. But it can't swim. And the Orin has the key advantage that the tree form. It's massive, so it's easy to see from a distance. So if you're actually trying to find somebody else, being an Orin is good. And also it's the best form at night because it has these symbiotic fireflies. So it's the only one that comes with lights. So yeah, the different forms kind of aren't necessarily better or worse. They're just a different kind of different things you can be and different places you can explore. So maybe somebody will really like one form and only want to be that. But everybody can eventually find all of the forms, but they are quite, some of them are more hidden than others. So yeah, some people might play for a while and just not find one of the other forms. And hopefully then they'll meet somebody who has found one of the forms and be like, where can I find this? Show me.
So meeting people and like kind of interaction, is there going to be traditional chat boxes and voice chat, or is it going to be more mimey or anything more like Journey?
So I think pretty much if it's going to be strange and peculiar, it's pretty much what we're going to do. But No. So no, it has got it has a chat system, but it's definitely not like a traditional text boxes or voice chat. We really wanted something that you could keep in character, you could role play well with, and it had a little bit of mastery and a bit of beauty to it as well. And so that's why we spent a lot of time designing this system, this language we call Rojda. That's the language that you learn as you explore the rainforest. So you start off just knowing one phrase, and you say these phrases on the PlayStation by drawing the characters onto the touchpad. And once you draw a character, it says it out loud, and the other person can hear it. And if they look at you, they can see the subtitles for it as well if they don't know the words yet.
That sounds interesting. With all the different forms, can they always talk to each other, or would it be kind of like?
So
go on.
All the forms speak the same Rojda languages. Some of them have different accents and stuff, but they all speak Rojda.
That's really cool.
But yeah, so it's quite a limited language, but it also means there was a bunch of reasons we wanted to do it. One of that keeping in character kind of thing, but also seeing what you can do with just this limited set of words. But also it means that people who don't speak the same natural language can communicate well. Because that's really, as an Australian, we're in the same time zone as a bunch of different countries that don't speak very much English. So if you're playing on a server in this time zone, in a multiplayer game, often you end up with lots of people who speak Chinese and Vietnamese and Thai and stuff like that. So there's a bunch of people who can't easily communicate with each other. So we really wanted to have an ability for everybody to be able to talk to each other, even if they don't speak the same language.
That sounds cool. That sounds like a good take on it. And like I said, it kind of reminds me of Journey a little bit, with the chirps. Yeah.
So we wanted, something like that, but aiming to be a bit more of a deeper, more expressive system. So you kind of imagine you're learning more ways to communicate as you progress and as you explore. So you're learning new words.
So the exploration is the exploration in of itself the game or the journey, or kind of the experience, or is there collectibles or kind of hidden secrets or puzzles to solve along the way?
There's all of those apart from puzzles, I'd say. Well, I guess some of the things you could think of sort of as puzzles, but we don't really focus on puzzles at all. But yeah, so you start off not knowing any of the forms or any of the language or any of the lore. And as you explore, you find all of those things. It's very narrative focused. So there's a lot of backstory about what's going on in the world. And all of the different cultures in the world have different myths about what's going on. Because imagine you went back 1,000 years ago on Earth and asked, what is thunder? People in Japan and Australia and Scandinavia would give you a totally different answer. In our world, the different forms, different cultures explain why they are all shapeshifters in different ways and have different myths around them. So you're kind of piecing all of this together.
That definitely sounds interesting. Is there a specific philosophical lesson or question that you hope that people get out of this, or is it just kind of what they bring in, they'll take away? And
yes, there is.
Okay. We won't bring that up. We won't spoil it for people who get to experience it themselves.
No, nobody knows the magic secrets. Yet.
Because it's a massive multiplayer game, is there cooperation that's required? Or if I'm a solo, I'm a loner, I don't want to play with anybody, can I see everything on my own and just be antisocial?
Yeah, you can definitely get everywhere. He says, you can definitely get everywhere solo. Some things are more difficult solo, Because often the easiest way to find some of the more hidden stuff is to meet somebody else who's already found it and share what you found. And definitely some of the trophies and like achievements and stuff on PlayStation require multiple players. Because we kind of the game is very open-ended and it's not very goal-driven, so it doesn't really have much in the there isn't a quest system or anything like that. But for people who want a bit more of that kind of direction, then kind of the trophies and stuff like that give them that little bit more of things to strive for. It's kind of our reasoning behind some of the trophy design. And so there's trophies for things like the hero, the humanoid, can ride on the back of a griffin, another player, and you can skydive off a griffin because you've got this kind of wingsuit. You've got the fins that you can use as a wingsuit, and you can skydive onto another griffin as well if you've jumped off the floating island or off a waterfall or something or a building. So there's a trophy for skydiving between two griffins. And obviously, you need to have 3 people to pull that one off. 3 people in really good distance judgment.
So, are there going to be natural griffins or creatures, or is every creature that you can transform into going to be a player?
Yep, so there are no NPCs at all. Everything in the world is a player. Because we purposely did that because you can transform into different stuff. I didn't want somebody to see something in the distance and be like, oh, look, I've met somebody, and then walk up and be like, oh, no.
I can see how that could be disappointing.
I just find it frustrating in multiplayer games when that happens, when I'm like, oh, there's somebody over here. And you walk over and you're like, oh, okay, nope. They're not somebody. They're a troll or something that's about to eat me. Okay.
Backing up, you mentioned trophies. Would Wander have a platinum?
Yes.
How'd you go about creating the trophy list for that, or what accomplishments? Kind of like your double griffin jumping.
So there's about 35-ish, maybe 40 different trophies to collect. And they kind of focus on different types of stuff. So there's a group around skydiving, and there's ones for every single form. Some of them are much more exploration focused. Some of them are communication focused. So mastering the language. Some of them are about finding all the lore and that kind of thing. So yeah, there's definitely ones around all the different types of things you can do in the game. Which was, as I said, kind of a way to, if people are more quest and goal orientated, to go for that. Some players are definitely just going to want to play it like Flower or something like that, really focusing on relaxing and chilling back and being soothed and calmed. I've had plenty of people who have like pretty stressful jobs really enjoy playing Wander, and we've had a couple of military veterans talk to us about how, since they came back from being deployed or something, they didn't like shooting games as much, and they've really enjoyed something where they could, chill out and relax and explore. So, so we designed all these trophies around kind of trying to get across what we wanted to give people ideas on things to do. And one of our team members is really excited about trophies.
I went through a phase collecting a lot of trophies, so I definitely understand that itch.
Yeah, well, one of our team members, Tara, is all about the trophies.
So definitely great to see that platinum. This is touted as an MMORPG, and not Flower or Journey or kind of a game with a linear story. So. Maybe I'm making an assumption there. You can definitely correct me.
No.
So what do you kind of look at as the end game content? Being an elder and teaching, after you've kind of seen everything, teaching newcomers maybe some tricks, or just still running around and being part of the world?
Yeah, I think part of the definitely when you've mastered the language, being able to communicate with other people who haven't quite mastered it yet is pretty cool. And there's a lot of we've tried to put a lot of depth into mastering flight as well. The Griffin flight. I used to be a paraglider pilot, so yeah, glider flight and kind of that kind of stuff. We've got a bit of background in, so we've tried to really make it feel like you need to start to learn about how the wind works in different places and ride on the air currents, and the weather changes day to day. So you're kind of trying to learn how to, learn how to be a griffin and move through the world well. And so if you meet other people, they can follow you and you can kind of communicate some of those skills. So it's very much kind of focused on that idea of sharing.
That sounds really interesting. So when you fly as a griffin, you're not just flying like in a traditional like superhero game, like jump in the air, press left, and I will go exactly where I want, and then drop down to the ground. Like you have to kind of do a little bit more and still see what's going on.
Yeah, so I kind of wanted something that wasn't. I didn't want it to be like flight simmy. I didn't want it to be, having to do something really complicated and follow a bunch of dials and stuff.
Sure.
You're a griffin. You're meant to be good at feeling the world around you. But I still wanted it to have that kind of feeling of thinking about where the air currents are going. Because like a bird of prey, like a big eagle or something, doesn't flap very often. Mostly they focus on using thermals and air currents and moving with them. And it really gives you a connection to the terrain and the landscape, having to think about that kind of stuff. And it changing all the time kind of makes you think, I can't just... Like in some MMOs, you just press W and you go where you want to go. This one's more like, okay, the air currents over there are really good. Maybe I'll fly on those. Oh, no, there's lots of turbulence over there. I'm not going over there at the moment. I'm going to see if I can get around. So you kind of have to think about your plans a little bit more.
That sounds interesting. It sounds like a definitely unique take, which I feel is definitely the feel and heart of Wander. Backing up way back in the beginning, you mentioned Night Cycle. Is there specific times a day or even times a week? Are there going to be like events where maybe you explored this section during the day, but now it's nighttime and it's completely different, and there's new things to interact with or experience?
So we've got a full kind of day-night cycle, which does change how you see things a bit, because the things look different at day and night, and different forms are better at day and night. Most of the ground won't be hot anymore, so you won't get very much thermals. You'll only get the wind currents. So it's harder to get around as a griffin at night, but there's also not very much turbulence usually. So that kind of stuff changes. How you move through the world changes. Event-wise, we have lots of plans for that in the future. We really want to do stuff that changes during there's particular things you can do at particular times of the month or moon cycles and things like that. That's definitely a goal we have for the things we want to do over the next couple of months. So it's not a feature we're going to have at launch, but we've thought a lot about different things changing through the world during different times, and ways to kind of get people to interact as a kind of a world event. I really like the idea of having events that you can do that actually changes how the world is, because most MMOs, are very focused on instancing and single kind of every player gets to do something. I kind of want to have we kind of want to have things where a group of players' actions, they can all work together to do something that does change something. So I think that'd be interesting.
It sounds
community
great.
kind of involvement. Cool.
So you obviously do you have any advice out there for everybody trying to break into development, who's crunching their first game? Maybe something you wish you knew then that you know now.
Remember to sleep lots early on. Sorry, it's midnight here and I'm a little vague, but uh, I think um, the most important thing for me is probably there's a couple of things. Realize what you want to do and do it. Just because somebody says that this is the big thing to do at the moment or something, don't necessarily. If that's not what you want to do, then and it's a passion project for you, then you should do what you're passionate about. Like when I first started, I started looking beginning of beginning of 2012. February 2012 was when I first kind of started working full time on Wander. Quit my previous job then, around then. And everybody I knew in the area at the time was, talking about mobile games and all that kind of stuff. But I kind of had this plan for this, big multiplayer, slow-moving, narrative-focused kind of thing. And I wasn't as interested in the kind of. I really love playing a particular free-to-play game, but I wanted something that was kind of focused on this soothing, relaxing, calming kind of environment. And even though there was lots of people telling me that it was a terrible, wasn't what we should be focusing on, I tried to listen to them, what they thought was the problem was going to be, and made sure I thought about those and addressed them, but also tried to, not be too disheartened by any of those stuff as well. So I think the big thing is probably, listen to people's advice, listen to people's criticism, but if you've got a kind of core vision, make sure that you can do the things that you're good at. And get help from other people for the stuff that you can't do. Luckily, I've got an awesome, the Wander team. I'm really lucky that we've got some amazing people helping out on it. And they've, really enabled me to do the things that I'm good at, and I've hopefully enabled them to do the things they're good at. So that's been really, really good and supportive.
Wander comes out on Steam and PlayStation 4 soon. Definitely check it out. Thank you, Loki, for your time.
It's great to chat.
All right. And I hope you guys enjoyed this interview, and that we were able to help you with your Wander IQ. Level up, friends.